Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us today here at the, or there, or wherever everybody is. You can't really yell down in front and at a Zoom reading, I suppose. Speaking of inane remarks. Hello, welcome to the Brooklyn Rail's 75th Radical Poetry Reading. I'm Anselm Berrigan, the poetry editor here at the Rail, or so they tell me. And it's my pleasure to be your MC today for this reading, which today is curated by Sylvia Gorelick and will feature readings by Christina Chalmers, Leopoldine Core, Bernard Ferguson, and Rebekah Smith. Before we get started, the Brooklyn Rail acknowledges Black Lives Matter and that here in New York, we are on Lenape-Hoking, the unceded land and waters of the Wappinger, Canarsie, Munsee, and Lenni Lenape people of the Delaware Nation and Shinnecock Indian Nation. We encourage you to check the chat for a living document of resources and actions. For the past 22 years, the Brooklyn Rail has been bringing together in a single monthly publication in print and online writings on art, music, dance, film, theater, and literature, along with social and political meditations. As a small nonprofit, the Rail can always use support, and the contributions will directly support the Rail's writers, guest artists, production staff, and operations, and the readers here at the Rail. Please check the chat also for more information and links to donate. And now I'd like to pass the mic to today's curator, Sylvia Gorelick.
Thank you, Anselm, and thank you so much to Fong for inviting me to curate this 75th Radical Poetry Reading. It's really such an honor, so thank you. And it's especially an immense joy to bring together some of my dearest friends and poets. I've been thinking a lot lately about how what we might call radical poetry moves through dailiness into wider constellations of world, and how, in Audre Lorde's terms, poetry, quote, forms the quality of light within which we predicate our hopes and dreams towards survival and change, first made into language, then into idea, then into more tangible action, close quote. And these are all poets whose work, lives, and poetics embody the movement from experiential word into act, and who have changed my life in radical ways. And I just want to say that truly my world and our world is so blessed to have them in what Diane de Prima calls the cities of the universe. And it's such an honor to host them and to hear their work. So with that, let's get started.
Thank you, Sylvia. So our first reader today will be Christina Chalmers. Christina is a poet and translator and also a doctoral candidate in comparative literature at NYU, researching the relationship between the philosophy of history and the critique of the family in post-war Italy. She has produced a research film on critical distance and disaster preparedness, Exit Strategies 2019, published book chapters on experimental film, and translated books on philosophy and psychoanalysis from Italian to English. Her published poetry includes work songs from Valley Verlag, published in 2013, Willingness from Materials 2016, and most recently, two publications, Truant of the Stintless Sun from 1080 Press and Subterflect from Distance No Object, and those are both published last year. Please welcome Christina Chalmers.
Hi. So thank you so much for everyone's input into making this reading happen. It's so great, and yeah, to see you all here. And I haven't had a chance to hear either Leopoldine or Bernard read, but I've heard a lot about both of your work, so I'm really excited. One correction is that my book, Subterflect, which is out by Distance No Object Press, which is a press in the UK, in London, it was hopeful that it would be out last year, so it's coming out kind of soon, like in the next month or so. So that's something to look forward to. I hope. So I wanted to just read perhaps actually a little bit from that book, and then like some slightly scrappy, or I call them scrappy, I don't know if they're scrappy, but more recent kind of things, and then another from Subterflect. So yeah, I'll start there. So okay, so this is from the second section of the book, which is called My Generation. And actually it's the eponymous poem, My Generation. Okay. Am I speaking loud enough? Yes, great. Okay. Horseshoes fall along the supersonic railway. In the raspberry factory, we pile our youth into boxes of 7. Water becomes soluble in the air so that we won't drown in it. Everywhere, the mold, the LCD screen channels no store. The generator outruns invasive species. Hello, Aloha, this is the mastiff of distrust. Dads in turquoise ramparts and dildos, I'm ailing. Owlets sit quietly in the rafters for the after hours. We pick up our overtime and have to swim through the straggling dark as the night gets old, failing implements in the morning tide. I strain my neck as I ride along the bygone instruments of rock and tempest. Scotland's infotainment was weak this year, taking peat surveys and fixing necks to the world gym of the battering salubrious rain. Next year, in the penal colony, Rosie in the fire factory, the castaway part of the generator picked saffron in Montrose. My generation has failed, they say, for ailing, by drowning, by seeing the water and sipping on our own turquoise swim party, rent a sally into expectoration from the indebted, spurious son of the nation you would drive along by. No element was on summer loan. It was cold again. Bunker man took me home and sat me down on my settee, took Papa uniform by a wild bird to channel down remorse, rocks in the fields, with training to undermine remorse, fluster of, moratorium of, in-stock claim, sent packets in the P.O. box, put arrows to TV on the 19th aqueduct of 20th soluble century when we drink ourselves half to death. Deathly isles raise up flow by the time in the afternoon for fishing and the nearest sex mapping its supplicant zones, heaving if not animals above grass, pick the tree from its roots in the pulled forth cricket voice which is never heard in these ramparts. Dated symbol of static I hear when the TV stays pure projected in the rain day and the countries of most or little balance, the most I could or could not say, comes indifferently into the crowned register at Govan Hill. Open floodgates by suspension barriers, uncaught Lam Yatin crawls his freaky glass onto Robert Owen's speechified cobbles, where the non-stop erotic cabaret will incorporate all patronymics in wondrous alliterative song. Wait without balance and lead me across, silking me heavy to a body of little lust, time in the evening for not finding my way back to the hut by the chicken pens. Shapes o'er. I changed your life by not remembering a thing. Not living until 110, I'd indifferent crap static on the prank telephone line, ravenously denying the hunger of our own drunk fabricated gates, revel not knowing the duration of afternoon, for an exercise in pure protection. Torn, merciless blackbirds, numismatically meaningful in childhood, slumbers, cranium, what kind of adaptation could be made, so rebelliously believing in indiscretion, slip through little life unnoticed by the blood vessel, light vessel, after the heart mantle beats its hooves to the beat of the modern day sepia mercy. But mercy is a kind of stupidity that dwells among the folk. I will only ask for mercy from the merciless. So I think I'm actually going to read another from Subterflect and then 2 shorter new things and then another. So I'm changing things around. And so this part of the poem that's kind of long and in more prose sections. So I'll just read a small section of it. For hope to garner release and put it like sex's mane into the shatteringly backward moving daylight, in fluorescence of the gallflower Commodore's death of woman on barricaded lips, lips untouched for centuries brooding unawaited daytime, and then the simmering water touches them in the shape of lovers as though this were novel. I dust the sub-rural pollen of myself and enter the fray of sullen seminal mistrust in the extreme grey. Nowhere lacks the dust of nights, still walking to find the bright and cloud clearing of the canal, as though your hands imperceptibly seek to stroke the aura of my face, which don't. Still waiting for the 1 o'clock gun to fire and the politicians to slump in unit to the primal floor. The talk will eternally be of dependence until this final call cries its inflorescence into the mouths of representative love. In lead sulfide, diphthongs by rotation, concentration by flotation, I will garner vivipariously cephalopods' means of propagation, still waiting to break the code by telling the warheads to stop at the breach of day, waiting for mothers wrapped in brocaded lace to be poured upon by their love, height the pitch of a shriek. I met a man in limitation, couldn't release limbo with conversion on my mind, lithe. I would trouble myself if I knew it. What ugliness through in its purest moral sense, but I don't summon and leave the rights to detritus. I was the man, the purest being, entreat, does walk off or evade the metro walk through entripment, holiness of ensnared capitulates. I migrate as bird sufficient, the border crumbing breaks me to a man. We really live in borders so much that we seem fundamentally to be the same, brooking vicious eagles. You will stop being able to live even as sufficiency is bound to a catapulted name state. The war on subsistence. All the customs are expensive, buying wine and deregulation for a plainer sympathy, and education for a buck passed over to liquidity pillows out the aquifer. The ATMs are growing dank with nothing in their hollow swell as lame directives pump the gas, the threaded boots on super rich fucking fascists. Even should they put hydrangeas into the faucet, they'd make you pay in blood for the petal. So if I don't live here, I don't. If my concept of the house is otherworldly, I may only release secrets into the ether to push sorrow down to release hold, where it will fall through the air. On the map-bound aerial zapping dreams into containment, no coming out. I have a party lacking crew, no video drone in the party hologram zone I cook for. I party in the mind of limitation, making my eternity soporific on the gravitas of map life. The figures on the grid have slings and soldier to mission. When I meet men in the game, they propose conversation. This will beat time out to exchange and I will be thus occupied. No boredom menacing here. Nothing more will keep going if not the necessity to respond, as though houses could never be sufficient and someone has to call out from within one, gesturing for help. There must be a way to continue to refuse to be. I yelp, deep stealth with a wish for instant and manifest wealth of a multifractional conjunction which would explode my own tendency to service. I put on my uniform and tell the hotelier that I'm no longer fastidious, since I cannot mop any faster than the next 14-year-old or recite any of the Greek pertaining to the Republic. Ziploc fantasy brand and summon Curator crudité for your appetite in metrage and real estate that speculates on the line. Lemons will be bagged in the sunlight, expensive as their time to waste, hollows wilted spinaches, mnemonic muscle scar and eats lilies underneath the willows. Dogs' ears are highly receptive on the slide into the forest turning bark. Okay, so I'm gonna put aside that subterflect for a moment and read two short poems that I'm kind of more recent. Though one of them is like a bit more reflective and less of a poem, more prosy, and it's kind of in a way thinking about some of my blockage for writing poetry recently, and the kind of zone into which I feel like I've entered in the last year, maybe not year one of pandemic, but year two and onwards, of a kind of like strange zone, which for me it's more difficult to write, but my dream world is very kind of florid, so some of it is coming from that. So I'll read those two. There's one short one. Truant of craven mutuality, I keep breaches within my meals and wither accordingly with your aggression, where sumptuously I'm a foreigner split into pockets of my mind. With hearts hate withered to a similar time as each deceiving chemical empirical comes to the straits of shame. Plaything, gold rush of gold finch I flinch from, frolic unlikely and fold, bustling in a death come old. Of anhedonic blues, dreams drawn down, protecting is preserving me, and latency would be the law, age calls slowness. Ataraxia flickered like it was bust, a recycled fairy tale, if green and in flame, so care form of fire suddenly dies. Destroy time, you say, slower than the last risky exit from the room. My clothes are not a florid mistake, and when I put them on, it means I will take them off again. Destroy time. Me of the beekeeper, sovereign ornithologist spites charisma and talisman of another person contends, who will underwrite your scrupulous wake. In order to save me from death, you would have to be from the future, two sides of ink and the future. Structures in the criminal protective allumette comes before smoke to meet below. The missing person, burning and robbed. I'm bored, robber. I want to talk with you. Flame on dominoes of broken lipstick, the oracular broken clip eddied to silver rays, I to disperse miss you as you vacuum me, free of foreseeing. Okay. This is very recent and yeah. Accuse me and proceed to exhumation, welcoming withdrawal. I'm carrying my book and the last musters, the jewelry cases, buried topaz plastic and tiny sailors. Second, those bolstered by de new mean mont. Voice of a sufferer in the garden. I unplug my kettle, shuttles out a window, white in the 80s. A gray-haired woman shuffles off a coil of branches in the upper atmosphere and I'm caught. For better or worse, miming between branches up to the roof. The Zeppelin's time is shrunk to a stomach, so I fly with the revelations of inflamed wirings gone past. She, as yellow-breasted, lands in a forest where she will wither for years. Among the wolves, the animals have introjected an arc, eating each other for landmass and space. I know how long it's been since she landed. The beetles have been feasting on one another and marked the time. They've become so big. A growth that is also about loss and meanders increasing without content but time. This would be a hallucinatory fulfillment of the same fleeting object, where that time is amnesia, preserved in a stomach, balking at nutrition's imminent threat to feeling. Shrimp became large and fled upriver, how macrofauna had sent dimensions into space. We were teething its no longer the last master, no longer weapons enough to censure disgrace, leaning downwards. And we or not, the river people walked upstream and I found them having walked upstream. Zones of belligerence sucked the women under, exploding the men. Their geography shaded into doubles as they huddled around a balustrade next to a bridge. Years of sadness elapsed in a whirlpool, proof if only of their illegitimates. A super choreography, each zone a circle around a foot. They experienced time slowly, sensing the water as an element of contusion, carrying the magic folded in a bluely marked water bucket I would take to the mortician. When new ones come, they sort the morphology of time and everyone in the real world feels ill. Okay, I'm gonna read one last one because Sylvia requested it, and then I'm gonna end. And I like this one actually. So, and it's a bit more rousing. It's kind of funny like that. It's called Revolutionary Love, and it's also from Subterflect, which is a book. Okay, banking on the future, the Revolutionary Trust puts hands on disaster, a point of contact where the seamlessness is made. Revolutionary love is a court of disaster. Not wanting to write like evasion, like a belief you do not share, belief in love and the possibility of love as the opposite of loneliness, belief in revolution and the possibility of revolution as the opposite of separation. Poetry plays its game in the fearful morning, asking for relation but putting feeling in the coffers. The name is of a worker pluralized or one, an alien friend. Speaking unburiedly, the time is now, unbearable present. Name is of a use of the body in the caravan of its own nauseous spirit. Put food in all the mouths to feed them for the next day. The heart is empty, the miner's black lung, deoxygenated with carcinogen, and nothing meditates on this. Another one. In any way, revolutionary heroes in hostage are workers, a delicate friend on fire, flaming up with concatenation spirals in the water, inextinguishably, point of contact, where the hunger for love is gone. Bobby Sands is in the court seeking arms. Telepathy is the wire to absent comrades. Telegrams in the newspaper column inch actuality up its wall. No desires for conversion, no voice stepping outwards. Revolutionary love is a court of disaster. Okay, I'm going to finish there. And thanks again to everyone for listening and making this happen.
Thank you, Christina. Our next reader will be Rebekah Smith. Rebekah is a translator, writer, scholar, and bookmaker, as well as an editor at Ugly Duckling Press. She is the translator of Ova Completa by Susanna Tenon, which came out from UDP in 2021, and co-translator of Written in the Dark, 5 Poets in the Siege of Leningrad, also from UDP from 2016, and The Rue of Olch by Pablo Cachagian. I hope I'm not mangling that too bad, published in 2016. Please welcome Rebekah Smith.
Thank you, Anselm. Thank you, Sylvia, for inviting me. It's Cachagian, Pablo Cachagian. It's an honor to be here, to be reading with you all, and I'm part of this series that I have attended several times. So thank you so much for having me. You've considered killing and you feel horrible. You've considered killing and you feel horrible. Whom? You consider killing. You keep calibrating, considering, reconsidering, contemplating, conceiving, eliminating a solid body that moreover expels carbonic anhydride from its nostrils. A body that, as you understand it, is surplus, impedes respiration, and contaminates a pocket-sized nuclear reactor. Relative brevitatis causa. Bad friend, creditor, functionary, viscount, lousy novelist, my mother, tennis champion, unknown fragrant green phantasmal, good friend, your very own body, the condominium. You've considered killing syllables, whistles, corpses. How great to kill corpses. For Easter, I'll make them an inferno with special cotillion service. Surprise in the vault, magic clowns, gumballs, clepsydra, digital pyrotechnics for Easter. Maybe for Epiphany. Some carry a rosary in their hands, others a book. Others a bouquet of chard. I carry a Colt from a John Wayne movie. You've considered killing a body more or less formed. Your error was in the calculation. You start with just one corpse and go on to thousands. There's no end to this round. I warm up the Colt. It serves as a stove. I write or I don't. I feel horrible or I don't. I've dreamt clenched since I lost my teeth. You've considered killing. I've considered killing. Let's warm up the Colt, the Smith & Wesson, the grenade in the sewer in Monte Grande. Are there more bullets than bodies? More bodies than bullets? Come and drink a tea, or don't come. I'm considering killing. I'm doing my work for tomorrow. I'm leaving. And they've already come back. Kikiri kirie. God help us, or God don't help us, or God half help us. Or he makes us believe that he'll help us, then later sends word that he's busy. Or he helps us obliquely with a pious help yourself. Or cradles us in his arms, singing softly that we'll pay for it if we don't go to sleep immediately. Or whispers to us that here we are today and oh, tomorrow too. Or tells us the story of the cheek and the one about the neighbor and the one about the leper and the one about the little lunatic and the one about the mute who talked. Or he puts in his headphones or shakes us violently, roaring that we'll pay for it if we don't wake up immediately. Or gives us the tree test, or takes us to the zoo to see how we look at ourselves, or points out an old train on a ghost of a bridge propped up by posters for disposable diapers. God help us, or not, or halfway, or haltingly. God us, God what, or more, or less, or neither. The anthology. Are you the great poetisa Susanna, etc.? Nice to meet you. My name is Patrona Smith-Jones, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Poughkeepsie, which is just a weensy bit south of Vancouver. And I'm here in Argentina on a Putafar grant to put together an anthology of developed, and also menopausal writers. Although it's well known that at any rate, all those who wrote and will write in Argentina are already part of the 60s generation, including those in daycare, and even most including those in assisted living. But what is deeply important to me in the poetry of you and your peers is that profession, how to put it, that profusion of icons and indices. What do you think about the icon? Do women all use it, or is it also a macho thing? Because you know, in reality, what interests me is not only that they write, but that they're feminists, and if possible, alcoholics, and if possible, anorexics, and if possible, rape victims, and if possible, lesbians, and if possible, very, very unhappy. This will be a democratic anthology, but please don't bring me the Independent or Sane. So those are all translations of Susanna Tenon's work from Ova Completa. Thank you also, I forgot to mention earlier, Anselm published some of these in the Rail when this book was but a glimmer in my eye. So thank you for that. And to the Brooklyn Rail for all you do. And now I'm gonna read a few poems from a little book I made for New Year's called More Love Poems from the White Sea. If you're interested in a copy, you can find me after the reading and I'll mail it to you. Come now, come undone. What came along was kasha made of oats. What came was a sunrise so long it never left. What came next was a word play, a word giant, a giant of words we couldn't see round the back of. What came slowly and it stayed. It was a stalemate. What came made allies of trivialities, made trials of weak whims, gusts of wind and a long seawall, an earth dam of rocks and sea. We sat by the sea among the rocks and the others. We ate sausage and cucumbers, drank tea or didn't, maybe nastoika, probably. What stayed with us then never left. We came to the seawall, the rocks, and a long strip of cloth between. What came was the cloth that couldn't bind. We watched sunrises and ravens and varieties of pine. We watched the long, low, slanted light of a near Arctic evening. We stripped and swam by the best moose in town, not in town, but anyway, what came next were forget-me-nots, and they came later, by the same sea, but in a different field, of a different forest. What came never came, and it stayed. We stayed wrapped on the cloth, on the strip of mud, and in sunlight, and in sunlight. Summer in St. Petersburg, or My Nerves Are Shot. A is for scared of the dark, B is for scared of the dark, C is for scared of the dark, D is for disdain, E is for love, for fear of it, F is for scared of the dark, G is for disappointing, H is for disappointed, I is for scared I said the wrong thing, J is for scared I'll say the wrong thing, K is for scared I'll say anything, L is for scared of the dark, M is for scared my mother will die, my mother will die. N is for scared of the dark. O is for scared I'll hurt somebody. P is for jealous. Q is for having only bad ideas. R is for having no ideas. S is for scared of the dark. T is for scared of the dark. U is for not knowing. V is for scared that I said the wrong thing. W is for love. X is for finished. Y is for not scared anymore. Z is for anxious instead. A is for scared of the dark. B is for not knowing. C is for not scared anymore. D is for intimidated instead. E is for anxious instead. F is for scared of the dark. G is for scared of the dark. H is for having a hard time. I is for having a really hard time. J is for scared I said the wrong thing. K is for scared I said the wrong thing. L is for scared I said the wrong thing. M is for scared I said anything. N is for nervous. O is for scared. P is for disappointment. Q is for love. R is for really, really scared. S is for striomne. T is for scared of the dark. U is for scared of the dark. V is for scared of the dark. W is for scared of the dark. X is for done. And the last one is called I really only have one desire. That beats might sustain us, that a fox holds its cards, that we strangle this symptom lodged deep in our parts, that we carry or leave, that what comes came soon, that the threads of these weaves won't leave their weft, that I dance with her memories, that I was she was we, that cuff breaks the silence, the stalemate, that we shake this straight, these binds, those beats, that we bear silence, that silence may come, that enough stillness swallows, that still and still moving arms tether us tightly, that raised arms may lift praises and pleasures may offer, that these walls remain hidden, hold dampness and never, that a fox catches our glances, she does, that forgiveness does not tumble, that these energies revise, that never came slowly, comes always, comes, that elaborately, that spiders shift course, catch a daydream, shuffle steps, that we shuffle, I, you, and you, her, that we nod who we were, that there's never in the walls of this monastery that ever, that the fox blinks, that the twisted line does not break, that traces wash on rocks, that figure in the distance holds this line taut, that this distance is measured, that we measure, we temper your words, that these words may not hurt us, you and me, or you or me, that this comfort never shudders, that still moving we heave, that you see that she breathes, that we crumble our comforts, that the walls shake or bury, or that the demons escape me, that the fox glances barely, that I wanted to tell you this coast is receding. I wanted to tell you it's gone. Thank you.
Anselm, I have a feeling that we aren't getting your audio. I think, apologies, I can't hear you. I hope I'm not the only one. But perhaps let's troubleshoot that. And if it's okay with you all, maybe Anselm, while we get your audio kind of corrected, I will be happy to introduce our next reader, Bernard. Let me just pull up Bernard's bio. Also, thank you so much, Rebekah. That was beautiful. Our next reader will be Bernard Ferguson, Bahamian poet and essayist. Bernard Ferguson is an MFA candidate at NYU. They are currently working on a book of nonfiction, The Climate Sirens, which will be available from Grey Wolf in 2023, about Hurricane Dorian and the effects of climate change on small island developing states. Bernard is the recipient of the 2019 Hurston Wright College Writers Award, the 2019 92Y Discovery Contest, and many others. They served as assistant editor at Washington Square Review and received fellowships from the Atlantic Center for the Arts, NYU's Global Research Initiative, and New York City's Writers in the Public Schools. The writing has been published in the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, the New York Times Magazine, the New Yorker, the Best New Poets of 2017 anthology, and many other publications. So without further ado, Bernard, over to you.
Hey y'all. Hopefully you can hear me. Cool. I am happy to be here. Thanks so much for the invite. Sylvia, okay, wait, how do I make this? I want to see everybody. Okay, there it is. Happy to be here to listen to everyone's poems. I haven't done many readings. So anytime I get to do one now, I'm just really giddy about it. So thank you. That bio sucks. I don't care about any of the things in that bio. So it's just, yeah. I'm a poet and I'm thinking about climate change. That's what you need to know. At all of my readings now, I am reading a poem, at least one poem that's not by me. And over the past couple readings, I've found myself reading this June Jordan poem. It's called Poem About My Rights. I've been thinking about embodied knowledge, oppressed people and people pushed to the margins, what they know by heart, what others are, what we might need to know on a global scale. So June Jordan, I think, works in the idea of like embodied knowledge. And Poem About My Rights, she's talking so much about like how her rights intersect with like the global state of things back when she wrote this. And I'm thinking a lot about how being from a small island state, being a Black person, being a non-binary person, being a chronically ill person, what do I know by heart about climate change and other systems of oppression that need to be expressed and written and codified and understood on the global scale. So I think this is a model for that. And it's also, I think, just my favorite poem. Poem About My Rights. It's long. Even tonight, and I need to take a walk and clear my head about this poem, about why I can't go out without changing my clothes, my shoes, my body posture, my gender identity, my age, my status as a woman alone in the evening, alone on the streets, alone, not being the point being that I can't do what I want to do with my own body because I am the wrong sex, the wrong age, the wrong skin. And suppose it was not here in the city, but down on the beach or far into the woods. And I wanted to go there by myself, thinking about God or thinking about children or thinking about the world, all of it disclosed by the stars and the silence. I could not go and I could not think and I could not stay there alone as I need to be alone because I can't do what I want to do with my own body. And who the hell set things up like this? And in France, they say if the guy penetrates but does not ejaculate, then he did not rape me. And if after stabbing him, if after screams, if after begging the bastard, and if after smashing a hammer to his head, if even after that, if he and his buddies fuck me after that, then I consented and there was no rape because finally you understand. Finally, they fucked me over because I was wrong. I was wrong again to be me, being me where I was, wrong to be who I am, which is exactly like South Africa penetrating into Namibia, penetrating into Angola. And does that mean, how do you even know if Pretoria ejaculates? What will the evidence look like? The proof of the monster jackboot ejaculation on Black land. And if after Namibia, and if after Angola, and if after Zimbabwe, and if after all of my kinsmen and women resist, even to self-immolation of the villages, and if after that we lose nevertheless, what will the big boys say? Will they claim my consent? Do you follow me? We are the wrong people of the wrong skin on the wrong continent. And what in the hell is everybody being so reasonable about? And according to the Times this week, back in 1966, the CIA decided that they had this problem and the problem was a man named Nkrumah. So they killed him. And before that, it was Patrice Lumumba. And before that, it was my father on the campus of my Ivy League school. and my father afraid to walk into the cafeteria because he said he was the wrong age, the wrong skin, the wrong gender identity, and he was paying my tuition. And before that, it was my father saying I was wrong, saying that I should have been a boy because he wanted one, a boy, and that I should have been lighter skinned, and that I should have had straighter hair, and that I should not be so boy crazy, but instead I should just be one, a boy. And before that, it was my mother pleading plastic surgery for my nose and braces for my teeth and telling me to let the books loose, to let them loose. In other words, I am very familiar with the problems of the CIA and the problems of South Africa and the problems of Exxon Corporation and the problems of white America in general and the problem of the teachers and the preachers and the FBI and the social workers and my particular mom and dad. I am very familiar with the problems because the problems turned out to be me. I am the history of rape. I am the history of the rejection of who I am. I am the history of the terrorized incarceration of myself. I am the history of battery assault and limitless armies against whatever I want to do with my mind and my body and my soul. And whether it's about walking out at night, or whether it's about the love I feel, or whether it's the sanctity of my vagina, or the sanctity of my national boundaries, or the sanctity of my leaders, or the sanctity of each and every desire that I know from my personal and idiosyncratic and indisputable single and singular heart, I have been raped because I have been wrong. The wrong sex, the wrong age, the wrong skin, the wrong nose, the wrong hair, the wrong need, the wrong dream, the wrong geographic, the wrong sartorial eye. I have been the meaning of rape. I have been the problem everyone seeks to eliminate by forced penetration with or without the evidence of slime. But let this be unmistakable. This poem is not consent. I do not consent to my mother, to my father, to the teachers, to the FBI, to South Africa, to Bedford-Stuy and Park Avenue, to American Airlines, to the hard-on idlers on the corners, to the sneaky creeps in cars. I am not wrong. Wrong is not my name. My name is my own, my own, my own. And I can't tell you who the hell set things up like this, but I can tell you that from now on, my resistance, my simple and daily and nightly self-determination may very well cost you your life. So that's June Jordan. Yeah, you could just hear like her working out all of this global, communal, personal and bodily harm all in one poem. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that myself. I'm going to read maybe 2 poems, we'll see. This is kind of an embodied poem, something about my body and how the pain I feel, chronic illness is tied to sugar and labor and colonization. And it's a really silly poem. It's about ice cream. So let's go on a ride. This is after Dr. Feelgood by Aretha Franklin. If you don't know the song, it goes, don't send me no doctor, filling me up with all of those pills. 'Cause I've got me a man named Dr. Feelgood. Dr. Feelgood. And it's about ice cream and other things. The weight across my back, collecting in pricks of pain along the soles of my feet, the pricks of pain. I have arthritis, for context. It's also about arthritis. The weight across my back, collecting in pricks of pain along the soles of my feet, the pricks of pain I take with me through the city, past the stalls of bananas and blood red apples, the very ones which sometimes have been crushed into foam on the pavement, their juices sticky and glistening into trains. I bring the specks of warm light in my bones with me on the subway and grip the tall, cold poles and shift my weight beneath millions of people and what they carry. I carry myself and it feels like I am carrying everyone else. I don't need a doctor. I refuse your forms of reprieve and the ways you gesture, oh, city of pain and ills. No pills, no moons to ease the dark of my night. You can keep that shit. I want merely the relief I know, the one that remains the same. Get me to a pint of ice cream. Get me to the rocky road, the almond stones that crumble soft across the tongue, the cold confection of tempered and smooth sugar, and yes, even the marshmallows that I thump around my bowl like bad news. I cannot offer sufficient critique to the men who must have stolen the milk, and so instead I offer praise to the cow. I am twice cursed like this, with pain and with what I like. Cursed with what removes the weight like nothing else. Cursed with my mother and how she dug into that treasure each night on Andrews Avenue. I want to live in that memory. My mother offering me chocolate and snow and the shattered brown fruit of the earth. Praise then. Praise to the labor of the living, the taut grass disappearing into a cow's dark mouth. Praise to the bees, the labor of the honey. If not the honey, praise the pollen, the unprivate mating of plants and the making of the nut. If not honey, then praise the field on an island I might have been from, and praise the people that once bled in it. The cane rising from the dirt like a tube for buried nectar. The cane struck along the back, the sugar sticky on the lips of captors. Yes, in the lineage of this particular body, the history of pleasure and remedy is braided back into agony, to tendon, to torn fiber and muscle and ache. A miracle, then, that today, in this mouth, I put pleasure and memory in the same breath. I speak of sugar and only gesture toward relief. Good God of relief, good God of earth and its bounties, of temperature and nectar, of sex and seed. Praise be to the God of clouds and their burdenless bodies. Praise be to the God of light and weightless things, to every flimsy structure spinning and gloating in the wind. Praise be to the God and the sweet suckers of this planet that bring me and beg me to dance. I'm gonna read one more poem and make it really quick. Where are you? I'm like scrolling through a manuscript and there it is. Okay. If you are on the Zoom call and you have vision, some people don't have vision, and you want to play along in a quick game, that'll fuck you up a little bit. So be prepared. Close your eyes. You don't have to, but if you want to play along, close your eyes and I want you to imagine that you're in the suburbs and you have a gorgeous house. It's the house you always wanted. And you're in a neighborhood of people that you trust, people that you love. And you have a lawn and a driveway and you got like verdant shrubs and a backyard and just everything you ever wanted. So keep your eyes closed. I want you to like just imagine that you're there. Imagine what it must do to your body to have lived there for so long. And I'm gonna keep your eyes closed as I read this poem and you follow along. Poem to be read at the end of a year. Suppose you find a rabbit with a neck wound among your hydrangeas. Suppose you take it inside, clean the wound, gather a few soft things for a bed. Suppose you feed it milk, apples. You watch the gashed flesh close, glisten with scab, and then fur. Suppose you let the healthy rabbit free, and because it trusts you now, it hovers in your yard and doesn't leave. Suppose there is a rabbit in your yard that loves your hydrangeas, your evergreens. Suppose soon another rabbit arrives, and for a while there are two before there are many. You leave trays of water out at night, give each one a child's name from a list of names you once made with a lover. Suppose one night you see the dull flash of a mink across your bedroom window, and you wake to a rabbit's severed head on your doorstep. Heads in the grass, a few in your verdant shrubs. First, you mourn as if you are being beaten. And then, suppose you spray your fealty to revenge. Suppose in your kitchen, there's a butcher's knife and blood whirling beneath your fingertips. Suppose for weeks you have waited, been vigilant, but nothing has showed. Suppose you realize, severely, there was no mink. There were never any rabbits. You were merely sitting in your lawn, a weapon between your hands, and you were listening for the sound of a killer in your bushes. You can open your eyes. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to hear everybody else.
Anselm, can we try, let's see if your audio is working. Apologies, everyone. I think we're still troubleshooting there. Bernard, that was incredible. I think I do have Anselm, sorry.
How's that?
Got it, okay.
Sorry about that. I blame the cats. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you for your poems, and thanks for reading the June Jordan poem also. I got to hear June Jordan read in person in San Francisco in the mid-90s in a small bookstore in the Mission. It was, she was really something else. Our next reader will be Leopoldine Core, who's the author of a couple of books, including a poetry book called Veronica Bench and the story collection When Watched. She's a 2017 National Book Foundation 5 under 35 honoree. Her fiction and poetry have appeared in Joyland, Pen America, Apology Magazine, and the Best American Short Stories, among others. Please welcome Leopoldine.
Hello, can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay. Thanks so much for having me. It's such a gift to hear all of you in this moment. I'm gonna read some mostly new poems. One of them was published in The Rail, and the rest are like really recent. Okay. Does this sound bad? Can you hear? Okay, I think it's fine. Just try to connect. Okay, this is called Parasitic and Protected. The crown is at the top of the head, or is the head. She said even words are paraphernalia. The clouds don't speak, they move. I wanted to get in the back of a taxi, not get food. What if I die? It may come from a state that never ends. When you desire a snack, when you get on all fours, seen from inside a kangaroo, the light coming in through my mother. Not infancy, not infinity. The adult is always lonely. When I'm writing something down, I write it down. Until then, I'm yours. Something that comes to me in the water, losing a few syllables, which is a free thing in the chest. A vacant plane, a window pane. The worst is still missing. It is parasitic within another and thus protected, but in doing so, its own head is reduced to the merest. She was older then, she's older now. I hardly heard a word. Big pit. Well, the truth comes out when you try to express love to someone you're really tormented by. Be yourself. Be yourself. Be a mask that we can all understand, this androgynous object. The salvation of knowing you aren't an individual because no one is, and the opposite must also be true. There's nothing to craft. You don't have to hide anything. You can relax. All these mirages are so convincing and enticing and seductive. Our world is designed like a casino in every way. Conversations that happened on AOL Instant Messenger when I was 12, clumps of mushroom blood that fell out. It's not about volume. Be yourself. Like that's one thing, and someone else is the second thing. In witchcraft, there's no opposition. I'm thinking and I'm alone. In my dreams, there's no way to sum this up for you. It keeps going, falling off the stairs of your love. I'm just trying to cheat fate. That's all anyone is trying to do. Sicilian witchcraft involves a lot of lemons and nails and saying things as fast as you can without messing up your words. And then you stick your head out the window and listen, and certain sounds mean certain answers. Like if you're doing a love spell and you listen out the window afterwards and hear a dog bark or people laugh or music, it means it's good, it worked. But if you hear water splash, it's bad, or a cat is bad. I want something more than what happened to me. The words somehow match the movements, the string keeping everything alive. We are drawn to repeating out of hopefulness. It would come from your guts, deep down. The idea of small and large. The idea to forget oneself. A shellless interior, a strange little open face, building a name to look out of onto a horizon. A baffling text, an extremely discontinuous object. Going towards the thing that excites you, be yourself. A cluster of drawings, an elongated palm. I don't know who I am, but where I am, shoulder at the top and fingers at the bottom. Do you have any idea what coldness means? I have it in my head now. We don't know where our water is coming from, so you always have to pray. Poor woman, married to that horrible man who thought he could do anything. No parachute, drive a plane in the rain. Thirsty. Animals that move on small, short legs. Sand that sucks in anything, anyone. It's not going to be loud, but it's going to be there, and it may not be saying what you want to hear. Some go directly to a specific word, something seen through a torn screen. I hadn't expected it. We all have these genes, these sequences of numbers. I don't know how they are, what they are. This is you every day right now, Porsche red BMW with his witch hair flying around. A basic love look is missing. Egosyntonic or ego dystonic, splinter rather than organ. Another definition of tenderness is extreme sensitivity to pain. You weren't just this thing trying to be, you actually were, all the time, constantly. If something is endless, it never finishes. Clusters on a grapevine, the totality of real things trying to escape from reality. To rub out or remove a fixed luminous point in the sky, which is large. I thought I'd know you in the old house. I thought I'd know you in the green field, forever. Twine. Things that go down the drain go into the sewer. You can't own anything. A dog, my own face, sitting and waiting. Bad feelings at the same times, lines almost touching. I don't know you at all. Something, not nothing, an endless appetite for chocolate, not animals. You're supposed to disappear, so disappear. Interior life is real life, legs and feet, sitting and waiting. Do you, by any chance, have something that doesn't belong to you? A leather suitcase, or the psychotic dream of control? I like any story of justifiable paranoia, and love is a tenderness for what is not seen, extracting the spirit of the plant, exhaling flowers. When you zap your puppy, they change. Everything they do is an avoidance of pain, expression and maceration, imagining what happened, only that. I think when you love someone, you want them to be free. I wonder if twin and twine are etymologically related. We are where we go. Closeness is just, it's the unknown, close up. The feet of summer, a compulsive lie. You don't know me at all. In the shadows of a tree, you don't know me. Okay, this is the last one I'm gonna read. It's called Imbued, and it's for Sylvia. She said influenced is not the right word. Imbued is a better word. The loop of life is the same as the loop of death. Is there anything else I absolutely have to say? The things you believe, they will change you. Reality is kind of making its way through you. A lot of people are haunted by the nothingness, but there's so much more. To do a lot of work and give up is very moving. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Leopoldine. If, excuse me, if you haven't taken a look in the chat, everybody, there's links to works and books by all of our readers today. So give that a glance as you have a second. And our final reader is going to be our curator, Sylvia Gorelick, poet and translator and pursuing a PhD in Comp Lit at NYU's Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. Please welcome Sylvia.
Thank you, Anselm, and thank you so much to all of you brilliant, incredible poets. I'm speechless, and this has been really, really special and such an honor. So I'm gonna keep it brief. I'm gonna read 3 poems, and I just, before reading, I just want to say, like, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you so much to each of the poets for just like really bringing their absolute genius and presence to this space. It means so much, and I'm just so honored to be in all of your presence. So okay, the first poem I'm going to read is actually a poem it's called Ode to Friendship, and it's dedicated to Leopoldine. So I'll start with that one. And since I also want to celebrate friendship and the radical poetry of friendship today. So I felt appropriate to start with this. Okay, Ode to Friendship for Leo. Her glance is soft and inward, the space between their faces alive, vibrant, butterfly of sorrow, solitude. Around them, revolution's tools, flowers, weeds, a coiled thing, the motion of light and wings over bodies, singular and separate, their shoulders brush, the pearl they hold, the fault lines being danced around. Graceful confusion of objects, garments, limbs, and love. Oh, take your freedom and run, spasm, see. They are hardly touching, but vines grow between them, encircle a knowing. Textures of loss reflected in looking. What are they sitting on? An old bench bound by regular tenderness. Sun streams, sometimes the beauty is more than I can bear, uncontainable coil of song, of pipe, weaponry, finery, fire, a whispered love by sea or air. Falling gaze, her fragrant song rises like a city in flames. And then the other two poems that I'm going to read are really recent, just like super new. So this is called Memory Poem. Obsolete against the snowless pavement to love again, beholden to a fragment of distress, spoken through the image of a boyish breast, when Jane was my solace, beamed in through padlocked digital doors, glowering on the fire escape, the leakage of someone else's living, and the brackish boy through the familiar grate. At the end of the aisle, someone happened, but the doors are gated now. And in all my young lust, I forgot and thought I was Santa Agata, standing in the rain, and couldn't say myself enough out of that room. Now the sky is so blue every day, the sliding mask of winter. Even the traffic and the birds keep going. Agoraphobic days reaching over the years. We were never single split in sunlight. Nothing fades. The brushing skin, when imagined skinless, out of being, catch the brakes, the vehicle has gone too far again. And all I want is back those moonbeamy nights on the roof, or to quiver with the branches that could be the free crown of another sky. Violence, proclivity, shuddering, and the afternoon languor I'd wait up for, an idea of heaven never left for dead. And then this is really recent, and I will just call it poem. Everything is so much bigger than its name and bleeds together, harrowing me in bone and book, because desire is real and rare, catastrophic, consequential. The film is not exploitative in its grief. To write a letter is to lay out one's messy heart, panicles, sightless moon, reverie obsessed with clouds, destruction come, awful secrets, dirty with disorder, poetry. How lush to be caught under starlight, misremembered like a dream, ache in womb as if the why not song turned her back to us, Manhattan alive, one letter away in the letter, a secret shamelessness not to lose, time to stop for a while and wonder whose life you're living, hers and mine, and the life of the mother I am not. Elizabeth's favorite songs haunt me. I only love by turning myself inside out. Thank you. And yes, again, just like so much gratitude and celebration to all of you. This was an immense, immense, immense honor. And I just can't thank you all enough. Really at a loss for words, on the verge of tears here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, let's I hope to see you all in real life and in the real world concretely soon. So thank you, and thank you again to the Rail. Thank you, Fong. Thank you, Anselm. Thank you, Nick, for coordinating and making all of this possible.
Thank you. Thank you for putting this together, Sylvia. And our thanks to Christina, Leopoldine, Bernard, and Rebekah. The recording of this reading will go up on the Rails YouTube channel in the next day or two. So it'll all be there to revisit and circulate, along with recordings of all the prior readings. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. is part of the New Social Environment series. Elizabeth Lee, Frances Gage, Christian Kleinbub, and Naomi Slip will join Julia Rosenbaum for the second installment of the Rails series, Looking After, for a conversation on new histories of art, medicine, and healing, with introductions by Suzanne Hudson and Tanya Sheehan, and that will conclude with a poetry reading by Kevin Powell. Also, next week, as part of this series, there's going to be a reading and discussion of Rumi's influence on American poetry. I think Rumi is going to be there, actually, so you might check that out. And now everybody can turn on your microphones and say hello and goodbye.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, everyone, so much.
Sylvia.
You guys.
Thanks, Sylvia. Hello, goodbye, Anselm.
Thank you.
Thanks,
everyone.
Christina. Leopoldine, thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Leopoldine. Thank you, Rebecca.
Bye.
Great poems, Bernard. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rebecca.
Bernard.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Bernard.
Anselm.
Bye, y'all. Y'all are amazing.
Yes, I'm very happy.
Yeah. Feel super nurture. Poems that burn. Poems.
It helped my.
Oh. Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys. Here's Emma. Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Emma.
Hi, Nick.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining, Sparrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
thank
Look
you.
forward to seeing your
Name
dad's
check.
show super
Wow.
soon.
Yeah. Thank you, you guys. It's
I think the revolution is very close now.
Thank you. We keeping you guys in touch on a big show we are working on, and it's Anselm will invite you some point during the month between May and October. A big show in many locations. It will be called Singing in Unison. Artists need to create on the same scale that society has the capacity to destroy. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So we'll keep you all posted, and thank you for being here today, you guys. Again, Sylvia, Leopold, Rebecca, Christina, and Benoit. And thank you to you, Anson, for being who you are.
Thank you.
Let's get some lunch.
See you. We'll see you next week with Rumi.
Yeah, bye, you guys. Much love.
Thank
Much
you.
love. Thank
Stay
you.
safe. Thanks so much, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.